Jesus Christ. Is there anything else that can go wrong? The worst period of my life seems to have no end in sight. Surely things can't go downhill and I must get a break. Work has become a daily test of survival, and the person I trusted more than anyone else is causing me the most grief. I should probably explain how this all started. I, Jim Anderson, met my wife Kate on my first day of work at Chisholm Engineering. I was 18 years old and nervously arrived at my first day of work a few weeks after my final school exams, advanced levels. I was doing well academically and could have gone to college, but I knew it wasn't for me. I'd already learned enough and my parents couldn't afford to support me through 3 years of university. Kate was a human resources assistant helping the company induct employees and was just great. It took me 3 months to work up the courage to ask her out. I was sure the rejection would be mild, but she didn't say no. She actually said yes and asked where we were going. I was so sure she would reject me that I didn't even think about where to go. It's been 20 years, and amazingly, we both still worked at the same firm and were happily married for 18 of those years. I was head of the project management team, while Kate had made a meteoric rise to become HR director at a large engineering plant. We had 2 wonderful children, Amy, 16, and Jack, 14, who were doing well, had a lovely home, and a comfortable lifestyle. John Newcomb had been my best friend since elementary school. In high school, we started dating Rob Turner and remained friends, and a few years later, Rob's younger brother Paul joined us. Paul was the only bachelor among us. The others were married and all the wives were close, having known each other for many years. Paul was more focused on his career than the rest of us. I recommended our company to him and was very pleased when he was promoted to Director of Operations. It was a very well-paying job, and we celebrated accordingly. Paul explained that he was surprised to get it as Old Man Chisholm had given him a lot of trouble during the interview process. 6 months later, the 4 of us were having a few pints of beer on a Friday night, and I mentioned that Kate had been a bit out of sorts and distracted lately. I brought it up as I thought the other wives might have said something to my friends, especially if it was something medical. Nothing was said. The guys were concerned and agreed that this was very unusual for Kate. I admitted that the thought of having an affair had crossed my mind. The guys didn't believe it could be true, but asked what made me think that. I had a hard time explaining other than something was off. Paul had been silent up until that point, but then suddenly he started defending my wife emphatically, saying that he was working with Kate and that there was absolutely no way she could even look at another guy. Furthermore, I was a complete idiot if I thought she would. It was almost a tirade, and I thought it was very strange. Paul was defending her too vehemently. When I looked around, I wasn't the only one surprised. I remembered that he flirted with Kate a lot, lots of jokes and little touches, and they'd gone on business trips a couple times since he'd been at the firm. I stared at him trying to make sense of the situation. He didn't react in any way, but he was starting to look guilty and was extremely horny. Rob knew him better than anyone else and picked up on that too. He looked at his younger brother. "Please tell me you're not that stupid." At the same time, I almost screamed, "So when did you start sleeping with my wife?" Chaos reigned. We both stood. I tried to attack him. John and Rob just managed to keep us at a distance. Rob pulled his younger brother outside and told him to back off. "But I'm your brother. I'm serious. Get out before I beat you up myself, you stupid, dumb, and arrogant asshole." John and Rob tried to tell me that maybe it wasn't as bad as I thought, and that I needed to talk to Kate to find out the truth. I agreed and headed home. When I arrived, Kate was sitting at the kitchen table crying. "I understand Paul called to warn you. Is that true?" Kate didn't deny it, but downplayed it, saying it wasn't an affair. Allegedly, they had messed around on a business trip together. I did enough digging to confirm that the messing around was sex. She swore it was a one-time alcohol-fueled affair, but I wasn't convinced. Rob defended her wholeheartedly, and it seemed to me that there was more to it than that. Admittedly, my reaction was adamant. I didn't care if it was a one-time thing or 100 times. Cheating is cheating, and I was completely stunned. Kate couldn't explain why or why not she did it, and her apologies seemed pointless. In the months that followed, we broke up and were heading for divorce, and that was bad enough. But to make matters worse, Kate started dating Paul again. This confirmed my suspicions that things weren't just a one-time thing. The beer drinking with John and Rob stopped. It was awkward that their wives were friends with Kate. They invited them over, but I wasn't in the mood for company and I didn't have much money. I also thought they would socialize with the whole company, especially since Paul is Rob's brother. Losing my wife to one of my best friends was really very frustrating. I felt like I was divorcing my whole life. Kate got custody of our 2 children and kept our house. I knew Paul was spending time there. Even so, I was still paying half the mortgage plus alimony. All I could afford was a small apartment in the shitty end of town. It didn't help with the kids. They weren't very keen on staying with me and wanted to spend time with their friends who lived near our old house. At first, I took them with me for a few days, spending all my spare money on trips we all loved and had taken regularly since they were little. Then, the time conflicts started. They were going on vacation in the city with Kate and Paul, or on a school trip, or to a friend's house. An endless list of excuses. I ended up barely seeing them for the past 2 months and missed them dearly. If it wasn't for their sports, I might have lost touch with them altogether. I always followed their sporting events and coached them both in soccer. Kate never attended them, preferring to give herself free time, but now both she and Paul attended all of them. At halftime of Amy's soccer game, I asked Kate why she was there. She took umbrage, saying it was her kids. It didn't bother you before. Well, I thought it would be good for the kids to give them support during our breakup. As long as you're doing it for them and not for yourself or to prove a point. You wouldn't do anything as petty as trying to rub my face in it with your boyfriend? Don't be ridiculous. It's over between us, and I'm completely uninterested in you now. Saying that, she put her arms around Paul and snuggled up to him. I walked away, biting my lip for the umpteenth time. The job was torture. I had to see Kate and Turner regularly. The worst part was the endless barrage of comments from the guys on his team. They seemed to enjoy poking fun at me. I knew they were looking for a reaction and just tried to keep my cool. Fortunately, my team was a lifesaver, especially a new coworker named Josh. He was ex-military in his early 20s and had lost both legs. He wouldn't explain what had happened, and I didn't bother to ask. Depending on the degree of pain, he used either prosthetics or shorter versions, which he called shorties. He was very reserved and quiet, mostly keeping to himself. But when it came to logistics, he was a Jedi master. I didn't know anyone better who could retain so much information and react so effectively to complex changes. I was surprised one day when he quietly asked why I put up with so much crap. I tried to tell him about my sorrows and shit in life, and immediately felt stupid considering all he must be dealing with. He looked at me with a serious expression on his face. It all comes down to a simple choice: live or die. Did they instill that in you in the army? He started laughing uncontrollably. No way, it's too profound. It's a quote I ripped off from the movie Escape from Shawshank. The British infantry version would be, just get it over with, asshole. I joined in his laughter, realizing I hadn't laughed properly in months. Finally, I saw the light at the end of the tunnel when Marie, the firm's accountant, asked me out on a date. I hadn't even thought about dating, and she took me by surprise. I had known her for years and knew she was divorced and she was a wonderful person. We dated a few times until Kate got wind of it. I heard rumors that Kate was defaming her and calling her a whore, but I couldn't prove anything. Marie came to meet the children, but they behaved absolutely horribly, first ignoring her and then beginning to recount their mother's opinion of her. I was shocked by their behavior and told them so. Marie was a soft person and became very upset, and then insisted on leaving despite my apology. I told the kids to go home to their mom and at the same time struggled to contain my anger. I called Marie many times, and when she finally picked up the phone, she explained that she didn't want to cause problems in my family and that it was better to end things now than later. I was completely devastated. I think I'd had enough. No matter how hard I tried to do the right thing, I kept getting shit on from a great height. I might as well give up. And then I was reminded of Josh's comments. I was trying to find something positive in my life when Amy informed me that Paul had promised to buy her a car and driving lessons for her 17th birthday. I was furious, but said I needed to discuss it with her mother first. Amy left, angry again. I called Kate and asked how my 16-year-old daughter was going to get a car, and I knew nothing about it. You know I wanted to teach my kids how to drive, and I certainly don't want her to have her own car yet. Why not? It's a wonderful thing for Paul. Don't feel bad just because you can't afford it. So you're okay with her going out partying with her friends? Do you have any idea how many traffic accidents happen to kids that age? I wanted to make it easier on Amy. Let her use our cars until she's older and we can trust her. Oh, well, no, I hadn't thought of that. I guess that would be a concern. And since when am I removed from all decisions about the kids in favor of your boyfriend? I'm their guardian. Wrong, we both are. We just happen to be living with you. Next time you tell me that bastard wants to adopt them. Don't be ridiculous. I agree we should have asked you first, but I'll tell her we won't do it. Great. So once again, I'll be the bad guy ruining her chances at a car, and Paul will remain the hero. Are you two intentionally trying to cause trouble between Amy and me, or is that just your talent? Of course not. Paul is just trying to support me and bond with the kids. Tell him to back off. He has you and I think my kids, but I'm their father. I have a right to be involved in decisions. I'm sorry, okay? Those words didn't match her tone, which sounded dismissive. How many times are you going to apologize after making selfish decisions? Try changing your actions. Think about someone other than yourself. You and Turner are definitely made for each other. You're like two peas in a pod. What does that mean? It sounds like you're jealous, Jim. You're the one who dumped me, remember? If you hadn't, we'd still be making these decisions together. And you were the one who blew it. There's no point in bringing this shit up again. We have to do what's right for the kids. I don't want them to be spoiled. They need to earn and be independent. Amy can work part-time if she wants to save up for a car, and then we can help her. Not just hand her everything on a silver platter. Kate's comment about not being able to afford to help made me angry. This was because I was still paying the mortgage and child support. It was infuriating, especially since Turner seemed to be spending a lot of time there. Trying to deal with Kate was like banging my head against the wall time after time and getting the same result. I'd been saving up and figured I could afford it. I called Kate to make sure the kids would be there on Friday to pick them up for the weekend. Surprise, surprise, surprise. They planned the trip and forgot to tell me. I had to threaten her with family court before she agreed that I could come over Friday to see them before they left Saturday afternoon. I stood in our old kitchen and reminisced about happy days, with the kids sitting at the table and Kate standing by the bench like old times. I suggested a vacation we'd been planning as a family for years, a trip to Europe in the summer. Amy wanted to see as many European capitals as possible, and Jack wanted to climb the Via Ferrata, a protected climbing route in the Alps, and do extreme sports in the Alps. It wouldn't be cheap, but I was willing to spend what I had and borrow the rest. The kids were enthusiastic and started discussing different places we could visit. Finally positive, they responded in the way I had hoped. I saw Kate looking thoughtful. This was supposed to be our family holiday, Jim. We planned it together. Well, now we can't do it together, and this is probably the last chance we have before Amy goes on vacation with her friends. At that moment, Paul walked into the kitchen as if he owned the place. Jack excitedly told him about the trip. Paul nodded and said it sounded great, then added, I guess we can take our vacation some other time. All three of them turned to him in unison and asked, What kind of vacation? Well, I was thinking of a summer trip around the United States. You pick your own itinerary, but it could include Disney, and then hop over to the West Coast, visit Los Angeles and the Pacific Coast Highway. Amy interrupted. Oh my goodness, that would be an amazing trip. Maybe we could stop by New York City too. I don't see why not. We could stop by there for a few days to break up the flights back to the UK. Jack went straight to asking about the rides at Universal and whether they could go to Busch Gardens or Six Flags Park. He loved all the thrill rides. I never hated him more than I did at that moment. He knew he had me in his hands, and I could hardly insist on a lesser ride when they were so excited. I got up and walked out of the kitchen, doubting that anyone had noticed me leaving. I had just reached my car door when Kate caught up with me. Jim, I'm sorry about your trip. Answer me honestly one question, Kate. Is this the first time you've heard of this vacation? Jim. Well, yeah, I don't think Paul had a chance to tell us about it. I'm sorry it goes against your idea. Jesus, Kate, you're not that stupid. He just made it up on the spot, and I can guarantee you nothing is booked. He's taking my kids away from me, and you're helping him. What did I do to deserve this? I'm sure it's an innocent conflict. I finally had enough. You keep apologizing, and then you do the same thing again. That's what's going to happen. Tell your boyfriend this. The next time I have even the slightest problem with access or removal from raising my children, I will take it up with him directly. Are you really threatening us, Jim? Talking to you is like pissing into the wind, so yes, I'll try a different tactic and live with the consequences. You're not going to hurt us? Maybe not you, though you deserve it, but on the other hand, he's due some payback. You and he should think twice before putting someone in a position where they have nothing to lose, and you've put me in exactly that position. I looked up and saw Paul standing at the door. I half expected him to attack me. He was bigger after all, but he just disappeared into the house. I saw the disappointed expression on Kate's face, but she quickly hid it. See, a real man doesn't resort to threats of violence. No, it looked like he'd run away. I calmed myself down and looked at Kate again. You're trying to win their favor and push me away. They are my children, not his. I'd like to think I'm a good father. You should want me involved in their lives, not playing pathetic games. Kate seemed speechless. That's not true. It's not supposed to be a competition, but let's face it. You win, I lose. You have the house, the money, our friends, the rich guy, and the kids. Your winning doesn't mean I have to lose every time, Kate. The old Kate would have realized this much sooner than I did. She just stood there with her mouth open, not saying a word. For God's sake, I give up. I want to talk to the kids again tomorrow without that asshole. I jumped in the car and sped off, leaving Kate standing there looking like a goldfish. Before I entered the house, I made sure Turner wasn't there. The kids were sprawled out on the couch in our old living room, looking like it was a big effort on their part, and Kate was standing on the doorstep. Don't worry, I won't take up too much of your time. There was no verbal response, but Jack managed to raise his eyes to me. I know this breakup is hard for both of you, and I wanted to remind you how much I love you, and so does your mom, and that will never change. Kate looked surprised that I'd mentioned her. But I don't understand what's going on with you. I can barely recognize you lately. You're great kids, but now you have this snotty attitude like things aren't good enough. I love you to bits, but I deserve better than to be a laughingstock. If you want to move on with your mom and Paul, I'll back off. If you want stuff and big holidays, Paul is your man. What I won't do is show up every weekend to listen to lame excuses about how busy you are. Kate tried to interrupt him. I think it's unlikely. Yes, I've heard enough of what you think, and I'm talking to my kids for probably the last time. I can't buy you what he can buy you, but I'd still like to spend time with both of you, play sports, go camping, whatever you want. I know it's not Florida or anywhere else, but we'd be together and you'd both be off to college soon. Still no response except for an awkward look and a fidgety movement. The way you behaved with Marie was inexcusable. What gives you the right to treat someone like that? That's not how we raised you. I've never been so ashamed of my family. I hope you're all happy she won't have anything to do with me. Kate got angry. Well, she wasn't good enough. Really, Kate? What did she do to you? She's a lovely person, and all she did was agree to go out with me. You slept with a lover when we were married, and I never judged him. But good for you, you scared her off enough to worry about my psycho ex-wife and kids. I grimaced as I realized I had said all that and cursed in front of the kids. Amy and Jack looked shocked. This information seemed to be a revelation to them. I turned to Kate. One more thing, thanks to Turner poking me in the face with his lack of funds, I checked with the child support agency, and they think I should have offset the mortgage against part of the child support, so expect an evaluation and reassessment. Maybe Loverboy can step up and pay off my house he seems to be living in. Amy lifted her head and looked at her mom. Daddy's still paying? Her voice broke and Kate reverted back to her goldfish image, and the kids didn't look much better. It didn't look like I was going to get a response from any of them. I stood up again in frustration, muttered something about letting me know, and left. Back in my shabby apartment, I pondered if I could afford to move. I forgot to mention to Kate that my lawyer had advised me to keep paying the mortgage and reduce my alimony. This guaranteed a roof over my children's heads, but he thought it might be a good investment since real estate prices were skyrocketing. And when Jack left home in a few years, she would have to either sell or buy me out. The phone rang. It was Amy. I wondered what the next misfortune in my life would be. I answered. Amy said she had Jack on speakerphone and spoke hurriedly. We found out that we owe you 6 weekends off and 4 weeks of vacation, and decided to ask if you still have a desire to tour Europe this summer, to include Black Forest, see the Alps, and drive through Italy. Her words poured out in a nervous stream. Do you remember those places? Of course, we've talked about it for years, and it must be much warmer there than in Scotland. And Dad, well, we're sorry for the way we behaved. Mom never said she was the one who cheated. We thought it was you and that it had to be with Marie. And Paul made it sound like he was paying for everything after you left us. I don't care if I can get my kids back. Jack joined in. You're wrong about Paul. We don't really like him. He's a jerk. Honestly, I tried not to laugh. Jack, that's not the impression you gave. We thought that if you couldn't date us, that you might come back. That's never going to happen, Jack. It's over between me and your mom. She's gone, but I want to be there for both of you. Amy picked up from Jack. The thing is, Dad, we think Mom feels the same way. He's not really here that often, but he shows up if you're going to pick us up. They argue a lot and often over you. I find that hard to believe. Your mom was just so... Well, she's been hard to talk to since we broke up. I'd say she hates me. I don't think so, Dad. I think she knows she made a mistake. I was sitting in Kate's HR office at work. My nose was smashed, and I was trying not to get blood on what looked like an expensive carpet. Kate was furious when she saw me. Jesus, Jim, fighting at work is a gross breach of discipline. I'm going to have to fire you. What's the matter? Are you worried you're going to lose alimony? It's pathetic. Grown men fighting. You realize we had to call an ambulance for Bob. Okay, he deserved it. I think I did pretty good, considering there were 3 of them. Grow up, Jim. This is a total disaster. It's so bad the old man is coming. That's when Turner burst in, and I tried not to smile as I looked at his swollen lip and bruised cheek. He immediately started yelling that he and half his team had been attacked, demanding that the police be called to report the assault and that I be fired immediately. I looked at Kate. You want to know what really happened before you fire me? I mean, it is your job after all. A deep voice boomed through the room. I agree. I turned around and saw old Chisholm, the chairman of the board and founder of Chisholm Engineering. He rarely visited the factory these days, but he still had an imposing appearance and a proper reputation. Strangely enough, standing next to him was Josh. Turner launched into an explanation. It was an unprovoked attack in the mess hall on me and 2 of my crew. An unprovoked attack by 1 man on 3 people seems a little strange, don't you think? So what happened, Jim? Well, I probably swung first, but being outnumbered, I wasn't going to wait. I thought Chisholm suppressed a smile. Kate continued. We'll have no choice but to fire you and call the police, Jim. You've already threatened Paul. I heard it myself. Nothing you've said can justify an assault. Aren't you going to ask what provoked it? I'm guessing it was jealousy of my relationship with Paul. No, it was months of harassment from him and from the guys in his department. Paul was almost choking. That's utter nonsense and just a pathetic excuse. Then Josh spoke up. I can confirm that everything Jim said is true. Paul looked at him with contempt. Who the hell are you? If you know what's best for you, then keep your nose out of other people's business. Josh is my grandson, Chisholm replied, and I trust him more than someone like you. I managed my surprise and pulled out my phone, scrolled back and pressed play. Hey, Cookie, our boss was late this morning. He probably had a good checkup on your missus. Everyone in the room got uneasy. I saw Kate look at Turner. I scrolled further down the tape again. You know she slept with him for months before you 2 broke up. Did you know that? What are you, one of those kooks who likes to watch their wife get fucked? Kate's face turned crimson and Turner screamed, "That's utter nonsense!" I skipped forward again. Turner's voice was next. "Too bad you were late for work all those times, Jim, and you didn't get the manager's job." I looked at Kate. "Have you ever seen me late for work? Even once in the whole time we've been here?" He blocked it out and told me about it. Told me to get the hell away since it would happen every time. I switched to the tape from the dining room. It was Bob Marsden's voice. "Paul says she's having a great time and doing everything right. Once he gets her unwound, we're going to have a little party with all the guys. Maybe we can even get that cute little girl of yours involved." Sounds of scuffling and fighting ensued, after which the recording cut off. That was the last comment I reacted to. "You're still the mother of my children, and the mention of Amy, well..." Kate looked at Turner and he twitched uncomfortably. "I didn't know that idiot Bob was going to say that. He was just trying to piss him off." Old Man Chisholm spoke up. "Officially, all participants are suspended pending investigation and disciplinary hearings. Unofficially, Turner, get out of my building and take your buddies with you. Whoever calls the police will never work in this industry again. You're already in the worst assignment of my life. Don't even think about competing with me. You'll regret it." He nodded to the guard outside the door, who entered and then escorted Turner out. Chisholm turned to me. "In light of all this, I'd say you handled it well, but you should have come to me. Go home, Jim. Clean yourself up, Kate. We need to talk. I can't believe this behavior has gone unnoticed. Not even considering your role in this case. As HR director, you should have been aware of what was going on." Tears rolled down Kate's cheeks. "You know that's not true, Jim. It wasn't for months. It was one time, and I regretted it as soon as it happened. I went out with Josh, thanked him for his support and advice, and offered to buy him a pint of beer or more. I'd love to, but I have to go to the regiment on Sunday. Normally, I just head off into the mountains for some quiet time, but they've drawn me to something official." "No problem. So next time, and what about the old man being your grandfather?" "I didn't want to spread that around or take advantage of it. I was going to tell him about your problems, but I figured you should find the solution yourself, and then I'd help. After all, he who sheds his blood with me today shall be my brother." I started laughing. "Now I know that's an old army quote if you count Shakespeare and Henry V. And Josh grinned. "It's the one from the Band of Brothers. They used it in officer training. For the rest of us, it was too pompous." That night, Kate came to my apartment, and I reluctantly let her in, asking her what had finally come out with Chisholm. He confirmed that Paul and the two people involved in the fight would be fired. The other members of the team admitted to harassing you and said they were put up to it by Paul. I was reprimanded and given a final written warning. And are they going to go to the police about the fight? No, the guys have admitted to the harassment and want to keep it quiet. They claim it was just a disagreement that got out of hand. Did you talk to Turner? Ask him why? He wanted to get rid of you because he thought I was still in love with you. He said all the conversations were aimed at getting you to snap and quit your job, but you didn't take the bait. You just ignored them. He's crazy. If you love someone, you don't cheat on them, lie to them, or treat them like shit. You've been treating me like crap for months now. I'd even say you enjoy hurting me." Kate started sobbing hysterically. "None of this should have happened. It was a mistake. You weren't supposed to find out about it, and you weren't supposed to leave me. Everything that could have gone wrong. I thought that with you missing the kids and your life turning to garbage, you'd give me another chance. But that didn't happen. Paul was just trying to make you jealous rather than anything else. I don't have any real feelings for him." "So you were a bitch because you wanted me back? Seriously? Take responsibility for your actions, Kate. You brought this all on yourself. I have no idea who you are. The woman I married would never do these things. She was kind and caring. Where did she go? I fucked it all up when I realized you weren't coming back, and with the divorce, I decided I had to see it through. The kids, our friends, and my family couldn't believe what I had done. John and Rob refused to be in the same room with us. I didn't see their wives and family for months. I had to prove that things would work out with him and me, otherwise I threw everything away. I had to prove that I had made the right decision and that he was the better man. My life with Paul had to be perfect, and the more I belittled you, the better my decisions looked. I tried to give the appearance of a loving relationship, but it wasn't like that at all. He was arrogant and selfish, but by then there was no turning back. What a fucking mess. And you got the kids involved in all that shit. I'm sorry. I should have tried to fix it, but I had no idea how. I didn't realize how much it was affecting your relationship with them. Great. Another apology. I heard what you said. I will change my actions and I won't need to apologize anymore. At least it's over with him. He's gone and I need you, as do the kids. They are very angry with me. I thought, well, I thought maybe we could try again. I never stopped loving you. I couldn't believe it. I was so sure she hated me that it gave me pause for thought. But the pause was short-lived. There's no turning back, Kate. Not for me. The connection and trust we had is gone. I'm not trying to hurt you, just trying my best to deal with the situation and get my life back on track. Sunday morning, I met up with John and Rob for a pint of beer. They chided me for not returning all their calls and texts. I tried to explain why. The wives were friendly, and after all, Paul was Rob's brother. Rob laughed. He's not my brother. I haven't spoken to the creep since that night in the pub, and that's a good thing, too. Otherwise, I'd have blown his mind. John explained that the couple didn't see Kate much at first, but now they're back in touch and say Kate regrets everything. She believes that if she hadn't started seeing Paul again and had been more sensible, we might have gotten back together. I wasn't sure about that, but I was sure it felt good to talk to my friends again. We were beginning to talk about other events in our lives when I happened to glance at the television screen. There, in full dress uniform of the Royal Fusiliers, stood Josh, laying mourning at the cenotaph, a symbolic monument, in front of members of the royal family and the Great and Good, a designation for the wealthiest of the country. He had many medals on his chest. I turned on the sound to hear commentators explaining how Josh had won the Victoria Cross, rescuing fellow Fusiliers under heavy fire and repeatedly turning back before passing out from a rocket-propelled grenade explosion. They went on to describe how he fought for his recovery. I was stunned. I had no idea what Josh and others had faced. My plight paled in comparison. In fact, contrary to the stories, once Kate stopped being a bitch, life went downhill. I saw the kids more often than I'd planned, plus all the sporting events. It was unofficial joint custody. They stayed when they wanted and were always happy to see me. Child support services reduced the amount I was paying, offsetting the mortgage as they suggested. I was promoted at work and paid a huge bonus. Chisholm said he wanted to avoid lawsuits for harassment or constructive dismissal. I returned to old hobbies and planned to travel more. I was shocked when Marie turned up at my new terrace cottage. We hadn't spoken for months, and I didn't think she knew where I lived. Somewhat hesitantly, I invited her in. I'm here at Amy and Jack's request, Jim, they apologized and explained. Amy mentioned that you weren't seeing anyone. How did they even know how to get in touch with you? I suspect Kate gave them my number. I called her. She confirmed what the kids said and acknowledged that you both needed to move on with your lives. Things were getting surreal. It seems that both your kids and ex-wife think you are the best thing since sliced bread and that I would be an idiot not to date you. Sliced bread. That's a little much, don't you think? Maybe the best thing since the steam engine, though. Sorry, it's an engineering thing. I'd prefer a calculator or a computer. I'm an accountant, after all. Anyway, I'd like to find out for myself, Jim. Yes, I'd like that too, Marie, very much. We started dating again and our relationship developed. First it was friendship and company, and then passion and intimacy, all the things money can't buy. Who knows where we'll end up in the end, but so far it's going well. Am I just lucky? Maybe. But I'd like to think that I've stopped acting like a victim and, in a way, created my own luck. I stopped putting up with the crap other people give me and learned to stand up for myself again, and so far the results are great. I will never take it for granted, though. Life has a funny habit of tripping you up when you least expect it.